Alexander Scriabin remains a strange meteoric name etched forever in the annals of music history. He firmly believed that sound could awaken vivid waves of color and even bring an end to this worn aging world of mortal existence. Beneath the lingering afterglow of the Himalayan peaks he once conceived a divine ritual ceremony destined to stretch across 7 whole uninterrupted days. Tonight let us step into his unfinished mesmerizing dream alongside him and discover inner peace amid swirling, gorgeous hues of light and melody. If sound could take tangible shape, if melody could radiate radiant glow, its form and splendor would surely match the visions crafted within Scriabin's creative mind. His entire life wandered endlessly between supreme elegant refinement and the blurred edge of quiet madness. His grand symbolic work, intended to trigger humanity's destruction and spiritual rebirth, was ultimately halted forever by a small wound upon his own lips. In the still hush of this quiet night, listen to the legendary life of this unorthodox artistic genius and feel the boundless cosmic stillness resonating far beyond the limits of mortal perception. Alexander Scriabin was both a poetic soul seated before the piano and a devout follower of mystical theosophy. He pursued the transcendent art of synesthesia, blending visual splendor and auditory harmony into ethereal resonant unity. Fate delivered the most absurd, unexpected ending at the most passionate climactic moment of his life, leaving endless mystery, speculation and unanswered questions for generations to come. Tonight, accompanied by the soft dim glow of the burning hearth, we wander together into the vast spiritual wilderness belonging to this profound mystic composer. Imagine standing beneath a night sky set ablaze by shimmering auroras, watching the entire mortal world fade gently away within the flow of a grand sweeping symphony, all living things dissolving into pure streams of radiant light and delicate fragrant mist. This haunting scene is not the opening scene of a doomsday film. It stands as the lifelong sincerest prayer and boundless ambition of one visionary Russian composer. His name is Alexander Scriabin, a mortal man who truly believed he could pull the trigger of cosmic transformation with nothing more than musical notes. Tonight, accompanied by the softly flickering glow of the hearth, we walk fully into the untold life of this remarkable soul. Through this tranquil tale you need not strive to memorize. His lifetime journey unfolds like a dazzling yet dangerously volatile chemical experiment, merging piano art, theological mysticism, radiant color perception and quiet spiritual frenzy into one intoxicating whole. While historians and scholars endlessly analyze his intricate chord progressions and revolutionary harmonic structures, he stood alone, gazing into the dark night, waiting for the stars above to dance and align obediently to the wave of his conductor's baton. Close your eyes for a moment, embrace the strange mystical power of synesthesia he experienced firsthand, and trace the wandering path of a soul lost in boundless wild fantasy to behold the transcendental otherworldly realm his mortal eyes alone could perceive. In April of 1915, spring descended upon Moscow, carrying a cold oppressive dampness heavy in the air. Alexander Scriabin collapsed alone inside his city residence. The visionary who once proclaimed himself a spiritual prophet destined to lead all humanity toward divine transcendence lay weakened and tormented by a tiny festering sore upon his upper lip. The affliction stemmed from an ordinary, almost trivial everyday moment, a minor careless cut sustained while shaving. No one could have foreseen that the man who spent every day crafting the grand cosmic drama Mysterium meant to ignite universal transformation would ultimately fall defeated by an invisible microscopic bacterium. In his final hours, clouded by fading consciousness, he still scribbled enigmatic, colorful symbolic markings across blank music manuscript pages, symbols only his own mind could fully comprehend. His loyal students waited anxiously outside his door, fully expecting to witness a sacred ascension into divine light, just as he had long prophesied within his own musical creations. Yet the script written by the cold hand of death turned out startlingly plain, mundane and steeped in cruel ironic contrast. Scriabin's sudden untimely end echoed the fate of a magnificent grand symphony whose strings snap, abruptly falling silent mere seconds before reaching its soaring emotional climax. This abrupt fracture plunged all his devoted followers into overwhelming unease and doubt. Could the divine radiant splendor he claimed to witness all along have been nothing more than a fragile, fleeting illusion born from his own wandering imagination? To unravel this lingering question, we must journey back to the vivid, colorful beginning of his life and witness how he wove layer upon layer of mesmerizing ethereal enclosure within the ambitious score of Mysterium, the work he regarded as the destined endpoint of his earthly life. Scriabin's way of perceiving the surrounding world differed entirely from ordinary human perception. He possessed the rare innate gift known medically as synesthesia. When he pressed a simple C note upon the piano keys, he saw no plain black and white keyboard before his eyes, only blazing waves of fiery vivid red. As melody shifted seamlessly into F-sharp minor, deep mysterious pools of purple light would emerge and swirl within his field of vision. This extraordinary natural gift marked his early years shaping him into a melancholy sensitive poetic pianist, earning him the beloved title the Chopin of Russia. Yet as he delved deeply into the theosophical teachings of Madame Blavatsky, his artistic ambition underwent an almost morbid dramatic transformation. He was no longer content merely to let audiences listen to musical sound alone. He longed to make them witness divine presence woven into melody and elevate music into a sacred ritual instrument capable of crossing dimensional boundaries. He invented a pioneering creation known as the color piano, assigning every individual musical note to a specific beam of colored light projected across the performance stage. He integrated countless unstable mystical chords into his compositions, harmonic structures that refused to resolve into traditional conventional harmony, instead floating endlessly upward into boundless ethereal space. This perpetual sense of weightless ascent left audiences of his time overwhelmed with physical unease and dizzy disorientation, as if the solid ground beneath their feet was slowly melting away into mist. Scriabin himself drowned joyfully within this intoxicating vertigo, feeling his spirit gradually breaking free from earthly gravitational pull, drawing ever closer to the pure luminous realm he envisioned in his mind. By this stage his aspirations far outgrew the concert halls of Moscow. His gaze turned eastward toward the distant, towering backbone of the world, the majestic Himalayan mountains. In Scriabin's later spiritual visions, his ultimate artistic ritual had to be completed at a remote extreme location perfectly aligned with cosmic energy. He wrote repeatedly within his private diary of constructing a grand semicircular temple perched high upon the Himalayan peaks, a sacred space where natural acoustics would merge perfectly with the howl of mountain winds and the roar of distant thunder. His monumental work Mysterium was conceived not merely as a musical performance but as a 7-day-long sacred baptism for all humanity. Thousands of pilgrims would gather within the mountain valley, surrounded by lingering clouds of specially crafted aromatic incense, while streams of shifting light and shadow danced across the open sky. He clung obsessively to the conviction that the final closing phrase of his composition would trigger the collapse of the material world. Undone by the sheer perfection of transcendent harmony, humanity would cast aside their heavy mortal physical forms, transforming into pure spiritual entities, achieving a grand universal reconciliation across the cosmos. Driven by this all-consuming vision, he recklessly overtaxed his physical strength and drained his financial resources, gradually embracing a messianic self-image akin to a spiritual savior. His daily manner grew increasingly eccentric. He insisted upon wearing soft silk gloves at all times to avoid touching the impurities of mortal worldly grime, and his gaze held a hollow, distant quality, as if peering straight through physical walls into unseen spiritual realms. The mounting pressure of global turmoil further shadowed his path as the outbreak of World War I rendered his grand cosmic vision seem wildly out of touch with harsh reality and absurd to contemporary observers. Yet in Scriabin's eyes the brutal war unfolding across Europe was merely a prelude to Mysterium, the necessary groan of the old world trembling before its inevitable collapse. He shut himself away inside his study, endlessly expanding the unfinished score of his unstageable magnum opus, every page heavy with symbolic meaning like the solid foundation stones of an ancient pyramid. Opinions among Scriabin's close friends and contemporaries remain deeply divided regarding his growing spiritual eccentricity and apparent descent into madness. Some revered him as a genuine artistic prophet, a visionary who defended the truth of higher dimensional spiritual perception with his entire life amid an era consumed by shallow materialism. Others dismissed him as a man crippled by overwhelming narcissism, his rational mind thoroughly unraveled and confused by esoteric mystical writings and obscure philosophical theories. Regardless of perspective, his relationships with those around him inevitably grew fragile and strained. Both of his wives became lost, wandering souls trapped within the intricate labyrinth of his vast inner spiritual world. He craved genuine understanding, yet feared being wounded and misunderstood by the ordinary judgmental gaze of common people. This profound inner loneliness reached its unbearable peak during the creation of his fifth piano sonata. The entire piece bore only one haunting inscription: I call you forth, journey toward the hidden far shore. When he performed this radical composition, his movements no longer resembled those of an ordinary pianist but a priest conducting an ancient solemn ritual of summoning spirits. The intense spiritual tension radiating from his stage presence even left audiences seated in the rear rows overcome with unexplained breathlessness and quiet suffocation. It was beneath this crushing psychological pressure that his physical health began to show clear signs of decline. That small trivial shaving wound merely served as the convenient entry point. Fate chose to end his earthly journey on that quiet final night. He gazed out once more at the star-filled Moscow sky lingering outside his window, his mind still quietly rehearsing every detail of the grand cosmic destruction ritual he had spent years imagining. He never lived to witness the dawn over the Himalayan peaks nor the prophesied end of the mortal world. He once foresaw he only received an ultimate ending of profound unbroken stillness, drawing his earthly story to a quiet close. The gentle tale of Alexander Scriabin now drifts toward its quiet end following his untimely passing. His ambitious mysterium survived only in fragmented rough drafts alongside hundreds of pages of detailed notes describing precise aromatic scents, light arrangements and symbolic visual effects. The man who once sought to bring about the end of the old world was gently laid to rest within Moscow's Novodevichy cemetery. Yet, whenever we listen to his symphonic works deep into the quiet night, that otherworldly sense of weightless floating and vivid mystical color perception still pierce through the thick fog of time, lingering softly in the soul. Returning to the quiet question raised in the prologue, was the divine radiant splendor he witnessed truly real? Perhaps the true greatness of art never lies in its power to physically alter the shape of material reality, but in its ability to open boundless possibility. It reminds us that beyond the trivial dull routines of daily life there exists a cosmic vastness so profound and mesmerizing it is worthy of sincere devotion and even passionate obsession. When stars glide silently past your window tonight, imagine their faint glow as the unprojected streams of colored light Scriabin once envisioned drifting gently down to soothe and calm this weary mortal world tonight. Drift into peaceful dreams immersed within the gorgeous haunting chords of his timeless compositions. Good night and sweet dreams.